So actually, another thing I kind of want to ask is about rugby more broadly, right? I think in Hong Kong, I didn't grow up in a culture where rugby was that big.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like it's really integral into the culture. Like rugby sevens is a huge event.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious, like, is it more just because of historic reasons in Hong Kong because of the British influence?
Mm-hmm.
What's it like for locals? Like what is it like for like I don't like the term expats, like immigrants and transplants.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like so what how have you found it?
So I think like as you touched on, like the rugby sevens is probably one of the reasons why rugby is so big in Hong Kong, even though like it might not be that widely played yet. I think the sevens really added the whole like tourism factor, the income factor for the city. That's kind of apart from it being an entertainment icon around the world. The biggest sevens is definitely Hong Kong sevens. It's a great like model for more sporting events to be based off of. I think there's other elements that can be further added onto it to make it more electrifying in the way that it activates the city. It gets in like a lot of people to fly in. Like you traditionally always used to sell out. So I think like that's kind of why the sport is kind of important to the city. But I think like other sports as well could kind of also have similar kind of events, which I think recently we've seen the Messi one in Hong Kong, which was a great attempt at kind of doing something similar and bringing back the entertainment factor surrounding sports, which should always kind of be there in a way to kind of help get people more demographics of people involved into sport. So I think that's something that probably the rugby sevens has done really well to kind of help promote sports and the sport of rugby. Apart from obviously like colonial reasons as well, and it was a sport that was brought in and was played mostly by expats. I think the number of grassroots that are getting into the sport is quite a bit now because of the great efforts that the union is seeing and kind of then putting into investing into the cycle of obviously you got to start more grassroots clubs and then get the sport going. And then apart from the other English programs that I mentioned that they're using, English as a tool, but to also introduce sport, but then also introduce English and promote English. Apart from that, like I'd say like globally though, like I think rugby isn't as big a sport as, like football is, soccer. And I think there's a lot of room for, innovation that can be introduced into the sport. I think obviously sevens is an attempt to kind of make the entertainment factor and inclusion factor go up because it's a shorter format. More countries can come play and get involved. And so it's just a little bit more exciting. And so I think that's kind of why people are more drawn to it. But I think like with football as well, like you can see how much progress has been made with women's football. Like there's professional leagues in the UK and the US, and like you have a lot of investment going on into it, and really smart businesses also being built off the back of it and along within it as well. So I think like that way, there's a lot going on with rugby outside of Asia as well, whereby there's a lot of all-star tournaments taking place, whereby they're pulling in players from different places. Actually, someone who even played in Hong Kong got invited to play out in like this tournament called the PR Sevens in the US, which takes place over the summer when people are on their break. And so I think it's the format of the sport, but also the entertainment model that you're building off of it that kind of promotes it. That's why I think rugby is getting popular in Hong Kong. I think it could have been a lot more popular in Hong Kong because the sevens has such a big part to play in the city. But again, I think like it's more people being able to access the event as well, apart from just like being. You can watch it on television, but I think like there's other ways to get involved with it, which can be done. It's like it's I guess multiple advancements that could be done to make it a bigger sport in the city, knowing that the sevens will hopefully get bigger, even though the venue changes and stuff. Yeah.
Can I ask maybe, you kind of touched on it, but it's maybe a controversial